Welcome back, video gamers, to another Perils in Paradise evaluation of cards at the highest level possible. You might be wondering, Rarran, what is Lanessa doing on screen? I thought we were reviewing rogue cards even though I didn't tell you. And that is because Paladin gets the rogue tours for this expansion, which means every rogue card that we see during this, Paladin could potentially use. Which brings up an interesting qualm. I'm going to use that word even though it might be wrong, is cost one less for each card you've played from another class. So as far as I understand it, if it says from another class, and let's say you're a paladin and you put rogue cards in, the rogue cards count from another class because paladin is your base class. And I think that might be obvious for a lot of people, but for me, I was second guessing myself because my brain hurts. So that's important to note. Let's go to this card. Snatch and Grab. 8 mana to destroy 2 random enemy minions, costs 1 less for each card you've played from another class. Now, it is important to note, if we think about what's currently in the metagame, Highlander Paladin is somewhat relevant. Excavate Rogue is extremely good right now. In fact, it would be probably one of the tier 1 decks. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Snatch and Grab just kind of fits into that archetype. You play a lot of stuff from different classes because of your Scorpion. It only gets better. It helps with tempo. The real question is, do you need it, right? Would you rather just have straight up draw, or do you actually need removal? There's a good chance from the Scorpion you're going to get removal, but the Scorpions maybe get a little bit worse because they're generating from a bigger pool now, which means you're less likely to get something you want, but there's potentially more powerful spells, right? So in Paladin, I think Paladin probably doesn't need this. Paladin has good removal, and if you need removal, you're probably going to run some of those good removals. Rogue might want this depending if they feel like they need removal in the metagame that we enter, right? This is such a hard expansion to evaluate for because there's just so much to consider, and that's what makes this expansion so exciting. Snatch and Grab could be played. I'm not sure yet. Conniving Conman, 4 mana, 4/4 battlecry. Replay the last card you played from another class, and it's a pirate. This is rather exciting because I think, especially in Paladin, you're going to consider this, right? In Paladin, you're like, if I play a rogue card and then I play Conniving Conman, is that really, really good? And you have to remind ourselves, it probably just works like test, right? You don't get the battle cry. It just summons them on the board or just plays the spell. And it probably just targets something random. So if I'm putting this in, I guess we really have to see what other cards in Rogue I would want to play in Paladin, because like we haven't gone through all of these yet. In Rogue, do I need a smaller test? I'm not really sure. I don't think it's really needed. Again, I don't need more value. The Scorpion deck's already really good. I don't think this is going to be played. I could be very wrong about it though. I just 4 mana 4/4 is not really that good. Like I'd rather have a Yeti. And yeah, you do get the extra card, but that extra card would have to be pretty great for you to want to run this into your deck because, you know, running a card in your deck takes up a card slot. Cchill, 3 mana 3/2 battle card. The next card you play from a non-rogue class costs 2 less. So immediately when I think about Paladin here, this is actually a little bit better because yeah, 3 mana 3/2 kind of sucks, but you're discounting your next Paladin card. That could be really good. And if you look at Paladin cards, like discounting this to 3 mana could be insane because then you could pop off the following turn. Discounting your Sandcastle here could also be really good because then you have a huge tempo turn. There's a lot to consider with a card like this. And of course, I'm not really considering any of the cards currently in Standard. Off the top of my head, there's not a ton that come to my mind, but of course, like the ability to bank your mana in a sense could be really good for Paladin because it's going to be rather consistent. In Rogue, again, it's tough because it's like, do I really need that discount? I'm not really sure. I guess you could like shadow step this card to make something extremely cheap, but you would also have to generate that card, which doesn't feel great. I don't think it's going to be good in Rogue. I think in Paladin, this has a ton of potential. And again, these are going to be around for a while, like a year and a half at this point. So at some point, I think this will be seeing play in Paladin. Treasure Hunter Yodora. 6 mana 4/5 battlecry. Go on a side quest to discover amazing loot. Play 3 cards from other classes to complete it, and it's a pirate. So I actually had to go look what the side quest was because I wasn't 100% sure. All I see is a bunch of dual treasures here. So if you didn't know, this is what it looks like. I had to go look it up on r/Hearthstone. Shout out to you guys. This is the side quest. Play 3 cards from another class. Your reward is discover 2 amazing pieces of loot, which I would imagine your amazing pieces of loot are going to be dual treasures. And because you get to discover You're likely to hit one that you probably want. I have no idea if on average that's going to be good enough. The only real one I can remember off the top of my head is like Kazakhstan, and that was a pretty extreme win condition. And one of the reasons why it ended up being so good is because Druid can ramp. Rogue can't ramp. So I'm not really sure about Rogue. Paladin, maybe. Like, I feel like maybe you would want Book of the Dead, and maybe you want like your, I don't know, where's that card? The Wax Rager. I keep hovering over it. The Wax Rager. It's a little questionable because it comes down to like, do you think dual treasures will be good enough? And I'm really iffy on it. I'm not sure if they will. We'll have to truly see how hard this is for some classes, or how hard this is for Paladin, how hard this is for Rogue. Now, that being said, this is actually extremely easy to complete from both sides, because Rogue also gets a tourist, and they also have their own like generation cards, like I've talked about with the Scorpion. And Paladin can just put rogue cards in. So you put Eudora in, you have a bunch of rogue cards, you play those rogue cards, and then this thing is procced for basically putting cards in the deck that you already wanted. So that's great. Maybe this is just good enough to play on its own. Maybe getting just dual treasures is just easy enough because you don't have to use that extra mana to discover cards not from your class. This is a tough one to evaluate. I hope it's good because that's kind of fun, and it makes a lot of sense why it's called Treasure Hunter, because these are treasures from duels and or dungeon runs, and I think that's really, really cool. What the hell is this word? Swarthy? Any pirates? Any pirate enjoyers? I don't know. Sword Shiner. I hate these. Are all tongue twister names, dude. 3-mana 3/3 battle cry. Set the attack and durability of your weapon to 3, and it's a pirate. Okay, hold on a second. That seems really good. 3-mana 3/3. Like, stat line's not great, but your dagger is a 1/2. You play this on curve after, and you have a 3/3 weapon. Remember, dude, Fiery War Axe was nerfed to 3 mana because that was so strong. I'm an old man at this point, dude. Jesus. I think this card's insane, right? It's good with that quick pick card too. The 2-mana 1/2 for Rogue that draws a card whenever you attack. You play that, you attack, and then the turn after you play this, and then you get to draw more cards. That seems very, very good. Paladin maybe wants this. I'm not sure. The thing about Paladin is like, what weapon do you really want it on? It's tough to really gauge. Like, I'd have to see what's exactly in standard, to be honest, for Paladin, and that's a weapon. I guess it actually. This is not it. There's no way this is it. I gotta look at a card type. So you want to want this. This is okay, I guess. This is great. Like, this is basically just more charges of your weapon. That sounds really, really strong. Hammer is probably too slow. Maybe the horn if I'm feeling extra horny, but I'm not really digging that too much. So legitimately speaking, this could be very powerful. And I think in Rogue especially, I'm very optimistic on a card like this. This just seems too good to not run in Rogue. Paladin may want this, but I think Rogue is a big fan of this card for sure. Metal Detector. I guess it makes sense. We also got a weapon. 3-mana 2/2. After your hero attacks and kills a minion, get a coin. See, the problem with this is that this is on the same mana cost as this. So I guess you play this first and then you play this, but that sounds bad. The coins are nice, but I mean, it's probably likely that you end up killing a minion. Like, two attack is probably okay. There's a lot of like token based stuff, right? I'm not really feeling optimistic on this card too much. I think there's just better ways of getting a coin. I guess if you do get the 2 coins, though, this is a theoretically like 1 mana deal 4 damage and deal with 2 minions. Like, that could be pretty great. There's a coin payoff, maybe. In Paladin, do you want this? See, in Paladin, I think you're going to be running hand buff majority of the time. Maybe you run it in like an Excavate deck, or maybe you run it in like Highlander, but I'm not sure. Doesn't scream to me like it's a really, really good card. Knickknack Shack, 3 mana for 4 durability. Draw a weapon if you play it this turn. Reopen this. Draw a weapon. Draw a card if you play this turn. Reopen this. The weapons are on my mind. Okay, so let's be real here. 3 mana to draw 4 cards over like 8 turns. Right? 2, skip, 4. Yeah, like that doesn't sound great, but for one card that is pretty great. And if you draw the card and you play it, that's also really good. This is like a really interesting card for both classes, to be honest. Rogue likes this a lot. This is just a good draw engine. Holy man. I'm not sure if Paladin really wants this though, but I also got to think about the legendary card from Druid in this case, right? Like this is an extra like I think maybe in Druid, like this is really good if you got off the legendary. I mean, this is just so much draw for 3 mana, right? Like it has to be at least decent. It's not tempo based, but I mean, over a long period of time, it's just a great way of getting more cards into your hand. And Rogue really likes cards. Like Paladin likes cards too. And Paladin doesn't have great ways of drawing currently. Like they got like a new card in the expansion, but they're heavily relying on Gold Panner. It's 3 mana. I guess maybe it's okay. I'm not 100% sure. I would have to really go through like all the draw. I think the concept of like the weapon for Rogue, the quick pick or whatever, and then playing this card is just way too good for you to want to play this card. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me look at the rest of this set before we come back to this. Oh, manager. Wait, isn't not the guy from Warlock? 2 mana, deal 2 damage, combo, get a coin. Simple, effective. Rogues like coins, Rogue likes damage, Paladin likes damage. And I guess they would like a coin as well, but I'm not really optimistic on that in Paladin. This is much more of a Rogue card than it is a Paladin card, but Reach is always nice. It's not like Eviscerate, though. I mean, Eviscerate's deal 2, combo deal 4. Would you rather deal 4 or a coin? I guess the context matters here. It's probably okay. I'm not screaming to play this card. So far, I feel like other than the Sword Shiner, I feel like most of these cards are just not good enough to see play because of how strong the Excavate deck is. But let's continue. Maestra is back once again. Mask Merchant. 6 mana, 6/5. This is the Warlock Tourist. Battlecry, discover a hero card from the past. From the past. Hold on a sec. Wild. There's so many cards to consider here. Hold on a second. Card type hero. Okay, so it has to be from the past. So, like, I guess we can kind of just go through all of them. I don't mind. Good card, especially in Rogue. Great card. Like, holy shit, great card. Well, hold on. Okay, let me go back for 1 sec. You're paying 6 mana for this? What happened here? You're paying 6 mana to discover a hero card from the past. So you don't just get the card, you have to spend 6 mana on this. That feels very slow. That's really slow. But that's why I'm like really curious to see, like, is it really worth? I mean, you're probably gonna run this if the Warlock cards are good enough. I feel like most of the Taurus cards are just good in general. Like this is good. This is probably pretty great. This is okay because it curves into it, I guess. This is good. This is fine. This is great. This is good. This can be good, but it's probably not amazing. This is fine. This is amazing. This is okay. I would imagine you can't get Galakrons. I feel like that'd be kind of weird. Anduin's is good. Zyrella's okay. Scabs is good. Valera's okay. Thrall's meh. Alec here, I think, is from the past, even though it came out somewhat recently. I don't know how that works. Rakan's fine. Hagatha's probably too slow. Tamsin's good. Jiraxis is in standard, so I'm not sure if that works. Gul'dan's probably too weak. Boom's okay. Rikara's probably good. And Garrosh is fine. And then Reno. Yo, you know what I just realized? It's like once Reno rotates, there's going to be a full year where like you're likely to get Reno from this, but you have to start your deck with no duplicates. So you'd have to be very specific with that. I'm not sure if that's good enough. I feel like this is a really fun card. Hold on, I'm just going back until we get to it. This is a fun card. But I feel like it's bad, right? I can't imagine this being good. Even in Paladin. Like, it's probably fun. Maybe it wins you a game here and there, but it's very slow. 6 mana, 6/5 for this is horrible. And then we have Petty Theft as the very last card here, which we already saw. Get 2 random 1-cost spells from other classes. So Rogue wants that. It's not bad. Depends how good the Rogue 1-cost spells are. I mean, overall, like, Rogue's package does look good. And the fact that Paladin could use a couple of these, it might be playable, but it doesn't scream to me like it's going to be broken. I guess it also I have to consider with Lanessa, 2-cost spells cast twice. So is there any 2-cost spells? Like, so this will do 4 damage and you can potentially get 2 coins with Lanessa. You can get multiple 1-cost spells, but I'm not sure if that's good enough. That's about it. That's about it. Maybe there's some dual treasures that cost 2 or less, but I mean, Book of, actually, hold on. No, but no, we're working with Lanessa. Book of the Dead with Lanessa, that could be gas. I don't know. I'm optimistic on like Rogue being good. I feel like it kind of fits the vibe of all Rogue players, but I still feel like Excavate Rogue is going to be the most powerful thing here. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. I'll see you guys in the next one.